any real solutions. They do bring real confusion, though. But just know when they're talking about that blacks are getting in the way of morality, and the non-white folks are so dangerous and so unruly, and we got to get back to the Christian way of things. This is what they're talking about right here. All right. This is what you're getting in the way of. You're getting in the way of this. Okay. This is what they want to get back to. See, when the Papa Bulls of the 1400s gave Christian rulers the right to conquer non-European Christian lands, it was a political order. But more than politics, it was a religious order. See, this was the morality that they are talking about. See, the Papa Bull was a decree that declared that the preservation of European Christian power was more important than the lives, lands, or freedoms of anybody else. Politics and religion fused into a system where domination could be preached as divine will. This is the Christian way they want to get back to. This was the establishment of supremacy. And that's what they're talking about when they're telling you they want to get back to these traditional ways. I mean, you take a look at this picture right here and you lock that in. This is what they're talking about when you hear your Bill O'Reillys and your Tucker Carlsons and your Joel Webbins, and we can keep going. Your Nick Fuentes and DeSantis and all of them. This is what they're talking about right here. This is what they're talking about. Where they're dominant over you, where they're supreme over you, because the Pope put it in writing that they are to be your Lord. And it even went so far as to say they were ordained by Jesus Christ to be Lord over you. Oh, yeah, in the 1400s, they did that. You think I'm lying? Right here. You can Google it yourself if you don't believe me. The origins rather, are in the papal decrees. The doctrine of discovery originated from the Papal Bulls, which were official decrees by popes that carried the full weight of church authority. Go down to where it's highlighted. This edict was a theological and political foundation for the doctrine, intertwining European imperialism with Christian missionary zeal and sanctioning the transatlantic slave trade. See, the basis of the system of racism started with the Papal Bulls, which is a decree the Pope would issue to Christian rulers. This is what started the establishment of racism as a system, a global system. This was the foundation for European imperialism to sanction the slave trade and domination of all non-whites globally. So don't you for a second, when you start hearing them talk about getting back to the Christian values of things, this is the values they're talking about. Not the values you're thinking about when grandma and auntie and them, they dressed appropriately and everybody went to church with their Sunday best and everybody was acting in order and, there was no unruly culture attached to us. They're not talking about that. They're talking about this. All right. They're talking about real supremacy, which laid the establishment for treating indigenous people and other non-Christians as inferior. See, this created a racial hierarchy. See, most of y'all don't know this is the establishment of white supremacy. It encoded a racial hierarchy. It cemented a racial hierarchy with European Christians at the top. But notice it's European Christians at the top, not all Christians. See, when you're a black Christian, they don't look at you as a real Christian because you're not at the top with them. That's the original values they're talking about, the traditional way. See, the Christian colonizers, including the Protestants, adopted this theology, this ideology, and it encouraged a view of America as the promised land that you read on in the Bible. And in their confused and demonic mind, they have divine right to exercise dominion over the land and its non-Christian inhabitants. This is what they're talking about. Always be in question mode. Always be in question mode when you hear this rhetoric. You don't ever get into the back and forth with somebody that's talking about, oh, the blacks are getting away of Christian values. You don't go back and forth with that, because they talking about this, whether you know it or not. This is what they're talking about. And if you believe I'm wrong, ask them about it. Ask them if this is what they talking about. But you do that after you ask them for a solution. You don't never let them off the hook and let them change the conversation, do that circle talking and let them off the hook. You see, because this is who they give praise to. Pope Alexander VI, the co-founder of supremacy. He's the traditional Christian value setter that they're talking about. Him right here, the co-founder. See, in 1493, the Pope Alexander VI issued a decree declaring that any land not ruled by Christian monarchs could be seized and its people enslaved, its culture erased, and its resources extracted. Now, you look around the world. You look around the world and you tell me you don't see that going on everywhere. You look around the world and you tell me you don't see this going on everywhere. You look at it. You look at everything in green right here and you tell me you don't see this. Resources being extracted, dams being put in the way and blocking waterways that God said I need water to flow here, and they stuffing it up. You look at the Flint water crisis. You look at the water crisis across the United States, across the world. They love to put a picture of you with an African that's starving with a big belly and sickly. They love to put that in there, but they don't tell you that they were supposed to be extracting the resources and the people, due to the doctrine of discovery, that a land is not discovered until they put a cross and a flag on that land. Now it is America. Now it is Libya. Now it is Nigeria. Now it is the Congo. Now it is Brazil. Now it is Mexico and Guatemala. All these are European names. These aren't the original names of these places. The original name of that place isn't Nigeria. The original name of this place isn't the United States. It's Turtle Island. It's Turtle Island. That's the original name of this place. Before that, I think they called it Atlantis or something. But this is Turtle Island. All right, they weren't calling this place none of these things. These are European names. You know, I've heard people going back and forth about this ICE thing that's going on, the deportation and all that. And they're like, well, how are they going to kick people out of their lands? I mean, the name of the city is San Francisco. The name of the city is San Antonio. The name of the city is San Diego, and they kicking them out of their place. And those are Spanish names. Well, Spanish comes from Spain. Ding, 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 ding. That's not their language. That's not Aztec language. That's not Olmec language. That's Spain, from Europe. San Francisco is a Spanish name. San Diego, Los Angeles, those are Spanish. Those are European names. Those are not Mexican based names. Spanish is what Mexicans speak, but that is not their language. They are victims of the doctrine of discovery. That's a European language they speak. Just like I'm speaking English right now. Just like in Brazil, they speak Portuguese. That comes from Europe. In Guatemala, they speak in Spanish. In Chile, they speak Spanish. In Colombia, they speak Spanish. That's from Europe. That's from Europe. All right? That comes from the purple right there. All these lands in green, they either are named. You look at Australia. They're speaking English over there. That comes from Europe. And you go into their history and you see the extermination of the non-white black indigenous peoples, extermination of them. That's because of the doctrine of discovery. That's because of the doctrine of discovery. You look at the natives or indigenous class here in the Americas, that's North and South America combined. You look at the extermination in Africa. You look at all these places in green that have been colonized or controlled in economics or politics by the European monarchs. That's from the doctrine of discovery. You let this sink in right here. All right. But with that being said, man, I just want to make sure that it is understood, okay, that this is the foundation of it. And that when you're hearing these political spokesmen talk about the Christian way and how non-whites are getting in the way of the traditional Christian values, and you know, we got the babies out of wedlock, the baby mama, baby daddy problem. They're talking about this, all right? They're not talking about what you got circling in your head. We're here to bring constructive help. We're not here to preach any sort of hate, but those that need help the most should get the most constructive help. That's what we at the Constructive House consider justice. So whenever you hear me preaching about justice, I'm talking about those that need help the most getting it. I'm not talking about whatever definition that you thought was the real one. No, true justice, and shout out to Neely Fuller. True justice is those that need help the most getting the most constructive help. And right now, anybody who's been victim of the doctrine of discovery needs help the most because they have no idea that this even exists. We got Christians that ain't never heard of this. They don't even know the history of their faith, but they preaching it, and they don't even know it comes from this. They don't even know that this was the framework integrated internationally and into U.S. property law, into the United States Supreme Court, into your economics, your politics, your labor, into every area of people activity. So I before we break down today's topic, I want to mention something that I wrote that lays the groundwork for this conversation. It's called The Doctrine of Discovery: Uncovering the Establishment of White Supremacy. So if you've ever wondered how religion got so tied up in politics and how that history still affects us today, this book is for you. And you can grab it on Amazon.com, or you can go on my website, theconstructivehouse.com, and grab your copy. It's a digital ebook. I will be getting a paperback book put together here shortly, but get that if you want to really go down the framework and the breakdown of where all this came from. This book is for you. Don't like the more you know, the more you grow. This is to help those that need help the most.